Hey guys, this is Fernando doing another video for More Survivalist. I was just going through some of the images of the typhoon in Philippines, and I thought I'd do a video on what lessons can we learn from a real world current ongoing disaster. Philippines typhoon apocalyptic scale overwhelmed rescuers after Haiyan kills 10,000. 10,000 is an estimated number. By these images, it wouldn't be much of a surprise if the number was much more than that. Given that Philippines is a poor country, it's actually very hard to have a good idea of how many people are actually killed. When these things happen in poor countries like these, there's lots of factors involved as well. Not only the level of poverty, the level of poor infrastructure and systems so as to account truly how many people are dead. There's also the political factor of those that don't want to accept what happened. This actually happened in a not what it was last year in a flooding in a city of Buenos Aires called La Plata, which is it's the capital of Argentina, and they were denying the people that actually had died. They ended up saying that the number of dead was just a handful, when you could see plenty of images and people saying, you know, that they had lost family members, that they had died. The way they do these things is just simply sometimes lie about it. They just lie to your face and deny the amount of people that have actually died, or they will go into far-fetched explanations. One of my favorite ones for denying a victim of a flood in La Plata in Argentina was that the guy that died in the flood actually died because of a heart attack because of the cold water. He didn't actually die because of the flood. He died of a heart attack caused by the flood. It's like trying to make excuses for the guy that is dead over there, saying that he didn't die because of the typhoon. He died because of a tree that fell on his head and killed him. It's that kind of ridiculous excuses that sometimes come up. But trying to learn from these real events I think it's worth the time. If we see some of these images, you soon notice. Well, the first thing you notice is, how could you actually prepare for something like this? Well, you prepare by not being there. There's nothing you can do so as to prepare if you're living here. If you're living in that house or here and you have a boat sitting on top of your property, there's really nothing you can do. This throws through the window the idea of, I'm not thinking of bugging out, I'm going to be bugging in, which is a recurrent topic that I talk about in the Modern Survivalist channel. The idea of bugging out being an option. Still working on my book, Bugging Out and Relocating. It's going to be ready soon enough. But I want to insist on that. Bugging out is for absolutely everyone. You just never know when something happens that compromises where you're living. Typhoon destroys your entire city. You don't have much of an option other than leave, hopefully, before that happens. You want to do something less, go for something less devastating and less dramatic, but that happens every single day. A simple house fire destroys everything inside your house along with the house. And if you manage to leave with your life, or whatever it is that you manage to grab when running for your life, a house can burn down in a matter of seconds. This isn't a guess. In 60 seconds, your house can be burning down all over you. And there's actually good footage of such an incident that I posted in my blog about a fire in a nightclub in US. 60 seconds, the place was already surrounded by flames and people were crushing each other trying to escape. Same thing can happen in a house. So this idea of bugging in or bugging out being options, whenever it is an option, of course, you're much better off staying put. That's as long as the place where you're staying is not being compromised. If you have the option, generally speaking, staying put is the best call. Now, what happens when that's no longer an option? That's when you don't have any other choice but to bug out. If you have a storm coming your way and you are in a coastal town like this, you see the sea over there, there's really not much of a debate. You have to get out of there. You have to get out of there, find high ground in, even within Philippines, the places that are much further away from the coast. And yes, indeed, a flood can reach, miles and miles into the inland. But if you get away from the coast and go for higher ground, the chances of you being safer are much greater, of course. It's really not a matter of choosing which one you're going to be doing. I was reading recently, actually, from a guy in US that suffered a flood, and he was explaining how in a matter of just minutes, he barely managed to get his car and his pet and little else out of the house before the entire neighborhood was flooded. And he was telling people how most of his neighbors weren't that lucky, or in fact they weren't as well prepared as he was and reacted as quickly. Sometimes you just don't have an option. Second point about this is this idea of, oh, I already am living in my bug out location. Alright, if you're already in your bug out location, whatever that may be in your criteria, then it's no longer a bug out location. A bug out location is somewhere else. A bug out location is where you're not at. A bug out location is where you go when wherever it is that you're living in is compromised. So if you decide, for example, if you live in the city, you have a nice house in the country, in the mountains, in whatever place, and you decide that place is your bug out location, and one day you retire and move to this country house or this homestead of yours, it's not that you're living already in your bug out location and everything has been solved. This new place is your new home, and you need to know or find or somehow have plans to go somewhere else in case that place where you're now living as your permanent place of residence is compromised. Right, let's go through some of the pictures. There's always stuff to learn. Notice here, what is it? The face is covered. Why is that? Because of the awful stench. Keep in mind, this has been not only flooded full of debris or waste, it's also littered with corpses, with people that have been killed by the typhoon. The smell in this place must be awful. And here is where, is something that we talk about frequently in terms of basic preparedness. Any reasonable kit should include respirators, face masks, not only because of this, but many other ways in which air is compromised or air is affected in some way. Dust after collapsed structures, the awful stench after a typhoon, a tsunami. These are all things that you end up needing as of basic supplies in your kit. The horrible, stressful, tragic moment that it must be losing everything, losing family members, it must be impossible almost to deal with. Again, people covering their faces because of the smell. Look how basically trying to rescue and save anything they can from the mess. Again, a respirator, a face mask would not be a solution. Again, the only solution for this is not being there. But in your basic survival kits, indeed, face masks are a must. I'm going to be doing another video on that, on face masks, because someone else asked about that in the comment section. Help, SOS, we need food. Of course, it's the number one priority maybe is not being there. If you're caught by it, you need water, you need food. Those two you just desperately need. Water, even a bottle of water on you as part of your EDC or in your bug out bags is absolutely necessary. Food as well. What kind of food? Food that can be eaten right away. There's if you're packing stuff that needs to be processed, cooked, that's a negative aspect of it. You need food that is ready to eat right away without cooking, and that doesn't need any water added in case you don't have much of it. We need food indeed. The level of destruction it's pretty. I think it was like 3.5 times worse than Katrina, or some figure like that. It's one huge typhoon. In some places, complete destruction, every structure level. And not only some of these, I see some corrugated metal here and there, but some of the concrete structures as well. Yeah, and people just getting any kind of food they can. Plenty of looting as well. Residents loot, water damage, sacks. There's really not much you can do about it rather than just not being there. Look at the power of the typhoon, how it just threw huge ships as if they were toys. This picture caught my attention. Just the kid, just here it says survivors looking for food, but notice what the kid has, what he's recollecting. I'm sure he's gonna be picking up any bit of food he finds, any bottle of water, but notice as well, he's picking up coins. He has coins in there, because even in this disaster, huge mess, coins buy you stuff eventually. So is that kid, why is he doing that? Because he knows that money, a few coins, money is going to be buying him something to eat. The medical emergencies of such a disaster are, all the help these people can get, it's not going to be enough. Moving around food, as always, the same problems of logistics, of getting water and food to the places that are needed. It's sometimes not even a matter of, there's plenty of charity, of people willing to help. The problem is getting the food where it's needed. The health hazard that all this means, it's probably going to be causing even more deaths than the typhoon itself. The amount of people that are going to be getting sick, drinking water, potable, safe water to drink in these conditions is an absolute priority. It's going to be one of the greatest causes of death because of sicknesses caused by polluted water. People just dragging mattresses, anything they can find. You have to rebuild everything, guys. People, hundreds of thousands of people that lost their houses, they have to build shelter again because there's still more storms coming, more rain. So you have to build shelters, have beds, blankets, all over that again. This guy is actually wearing a respirator. You see that in his face there. In this image as well, a guy with a gun pointed at some people. It says, Filipino store owner aims a pistol and warns looters trying to enter his store in the super typhoon devastated city of Tacloban, Leyte province, Philippines. And the guy with a pistol protecting his property from looters. Some looting here, images of looting. People that get desperate and they're just, willing to do anything. And understandably so. Remember what I was saying just moments before. People needing to build shelter again, even just with the debris and scraps left. A simple roof, bedding. He's keeping some pots and pans there, and there, water. Main priority. Drinking water that's safe for drinking, especially for the kids. Dehydration makes people drink absolutely anything that they can get hold of. They will just drink it and get sick. The more people that get sick, the more the disease spread. Cholera is going to be one of the major killers in this kind of disaster. What I was saying before, the kind of structures that got destroyed, It's a independent structure, concrete structure. Still, it basically cleaned out the lower floor. Yeah, true, you know, that upper level, there are some clothes being dried there. That upper level somewhat survived, but this entire structure may be compromised and may not be safe for people to live there. Yeah, but it is true that, you know, a concrete building is much stronger than some of these stick frames houses that obviously got completely wiped out. Babies, what a mess, you know, with especially with small kids, corpses everywhere. Man, what a huge disaster. So folks, really not much you can do about something like this other than being aware of the news, being aware of where you live. If you live in a you know, flood prone area, if you live in coastal cities like these, where there's possibility of typhoons, of tsunamis, if there's possibility of earthquakes, you know, understand what are your main concerns, the most likely events that may be affecting you. If you live close to industrial districts, there's a possibility of explosions or industrial disasters. Those are things you have to keep in mind as well. That's what smart preparedness is all about. Being understanding your conditions, your threats, and being as prepared for them as you can. Sometimes it's just about having a place to go and being aware of the news and making your move before it gets this bad. Guys, that's all for now. Remember to subscribe. Have a great day and see you in our next video. Take care.